I will try not to go beyond the time here because we started off a little bit late also. So I will just try to give you a taste at least of the interpretations that might come up from this line of inquiries that we are doing. Asking about the master narratives in various countries gives new angles when you compare them. In one article I have tried to compare, on the one hand, Italy, Greece and Turkey, because they share a component of a Hellenistic and classical past which they all deal with differently. And comparing this set of countries with the Nordic ones, because we also have an idea of a shared Nordic culture, a Scandinavian culture, which is treated quite differently in the different nations. So the shared heritage is treated differently in different national settings. And for Italy is of course special because it has and Greece, because they have a special place in the Western imagination, which shaped the National Museum landscapes. A lot of I think I have to summarize instead of reading my manuscript here. I say when I visit and read about the Italian museums, they are characterized by not fulfilling the hypothesis that we had. A new country struggling to set itself up in the second half of the 19th century would need a very strong, comprehensive national museum telling the story from the very beginning up until today and show the necessity of the Italian state. But it's not there. Why is that? I need an explanation to that. And it's not only Italy, actually. It also goes for... Thank you. It also goes for Norway, which also lack this kind of unified national museum. I think the explanation is similar to both Norway and Italy. In Italy, one of the explanations is that there are very strong regional and local centers of heritage. You had a very strong museum structure already before unification, with Firenze and Naples as the strongest perhaps, but in many other places. The secularization of church heritage was assigned to local museums to a large extent. The troublesome history, the fascist legacy, also adds to the difficulty in creating a long, coherent history of Italy. So I would say that it falls apart really into three pieces, perhaps. The first one being a very proud place for the classical history, but it does not provide a continuous foundation for the national story. It's a moment in time, to a glorious golden age. In Greece, it's much more as a foundation of, they regard the state and nation as the same now. It's a long story that goes through the Byzantine and up until today. It's as constructed, of course, as the Italian case, but it's not the same. The other strong story has its similarity in Greece, and that's the Risorgimento. It has its own museum both in Rome and in Greece. And the third one is also similar. It's a lack of public negotiation on the troublesome last 50, 60 years. There is a silence in the national. It's there in local communities and in other places, but not in the museum. And these two differs again from Turkey, where Turkey is a bit like Italy, and they're very happy that they have all these old remains from Greece, but it has nothing to do with Turkey, because it's a young state from 1923. So it has no real connection with the others. It's because this is a creation of Kemal Atatürk, and so it doesn't move back in time. So I cannot go on anymore into this consideration. It's just to show you the way that we think that we will use, first having a hypothesis on what could be the logic sort of relationship between state making and the cultural policy. And quickly you'll find that your hypothesis is not always working its way out. And then as a scientist, you always try to save them as your first resort. And that is what I did now. I tried to sort of explain why Italy did not fit into the pattern. And there are, of course, more arguments. And we have a very, very good report on the Italian museums to help us support this. Now I just want to finish off with a brief reflection while I was thinking of the similarities and dissimilarities between our projects and where we might collaborate. For example, you have, as I mentioned in the beginning, a very strong commitment to establishing a transnational network promoting museum and library contact zone. And there I think you go beyond where we reach. We have some reference groups, but you have the idea of really setting up a structure for cultural institutions to interact also with Brussels and other bodies. So I think that's a mark that makes your project different to the one we have. You also go beyond, of course, national museums to museums and libraries and other cultural institutions as a general category. And you also have, as I said, partners of a very exciting variety, which is also, of course, very demanding because you talk differently, you think a bit differently. So you need to apply plenty of time in your think tanks and other actions that you have to really make use of that dissimilarity. Now, what could we possibly contribute from the UNAMUS to this multiplicity? Well, to start with, we are 1 year ahead of you, so we might have some experiences of both running a project and some results that might be interesting as a background for your analysis. We have a stronger focus on comparative and systematic analysis that might help place observations that you do in the European setting. And I think the systematics that we have has its costs, of course. I mean, we are focusing very strongly on one type of institution or function, which might emphasize the dimension of stability much more than your does. I mean, you have an emphasis on perhaps not only as a matter of fact, but the need of these institutions to be more of contact zones, to be more fluent, to have a greater dialogue, and to make that not only a sweet wish. I think it's good also to have knowledge of these strong trajectories, because I dare say that one of our findings is already that there is a strong continuity for many of these museums. Just to take one example, the Germanische Nationalmuseum in Nuremberg, it was set up in 1850, and it survived the empire, the Nazis, the unification, and I might also say that some of the exhibitions seems to have survived rather untouched by the time of change. So there is a legacy within especially these national institutions that is a very strong inertia, very heavy to change. If you want to read some more, several of your partners here, especially from Newcastle, are also participating in this book on national museums that came recently, actually out of a preceding project on national museum in Marie Curie program. And of course, we also have a homepage where you can follow that by going in there, but also ask for the newsletter and subscribe for the newsletter if you want to follow how this project evolve, unamus.eu. Our very excellent partners, of course, like yours, best in their own degrees. They are Most of them are running their own work package. Yeah. And these are the facts. We are a 3-year project, and we started on 1st of February in last year. So we are in the middle of a very exciting and a bit frightening work. As you know, when you haven't really made your work, it's still an adventure. So, and I'm happy to be here and to join this adventure of exploring the cultural institution of Europe. Thank you.